All right. For anyone who's looking into the Southwestern program, I figured I'd give some insight. I've been working with the company for 6 years now. I started when I was in college, and then they hired me on full time when I graduated. I went through all the typical training that the company offered, completed the program my first summer as an intern, and then they hired me on once I graduated college. I heard about Southwestern a little bit differently. I was in a leadership seminar in Los Angeles, and I met a girl there that I started dating. And pretty soon after we started dating, she was, telling me about Southwestern, and she was done with the company. She had worked with them for a while, and she was graduated and done selling. But she thought that I might be a good fit for it, so she put me in touch with one of her friends who was a recruiter. And we did an interview over the phone. I lived in Colorado. She lived in Montana or North Dakota. Can't even remember. And we did interviews over the phone. And I signed up and I hopped on board. It was my junior year in college. But I think the thing that initially appealed to me about Southwestern to begin with was the money, because the girl that told me about it was making good money, and I was a broke college kid. I was about $80,000 in student loan debt alone, on top of other debt that I had accumulated. So the fact that she had paid her way through school was definitely pretty appealing. After she talked with me about it a little bit more, though, I pretty quickly realized that it was more than just about money. I was interested in a lot of the personal growth and the networking connections that you could make, the business skills that you could gain, the travel experience. There's a lot of things that kind of began to appeal to me. Of course, though, there was also those feelings were balanced with a lot of feelings of concern. I would say biggest concern was lack of certainty. When I realized it was a straight commission job, that always kind of made me a little bit nervous, because you just don't know what's going to happen. You think you're going to be good at it, but you're not like 100% sure. So it's a little concerning going into the unknown like that, especially because I was in such deep debt. I had a pretty secure job back in Boulder. It was a part-time job, but I was making $800 a month to work about 40 hours a month. And on top of that, I was going to have some other jobs, and I was going to make just enough to be able to pay off my rent and then save up some money to be able to pay for school the next semester. So taking the leap to do Southwestern was definitely intimidating, because I was leaving this secure job with secure money, guaranteed money basically, to go do this thing where I could potentially make a lot more money, but there were no guarantees that I was going to. On top of that, I was planning on studying abroad in Australia, and their fall semester started like June or something like that, and if I was going to do Southwestern, I was going to have to give up studying abroad, so that was definitely very intimidating as well. Plus, just, typical. My mom was a little uncertain about it as well. She'd actually, it was funny, she had bought from Southwestern back in the day, but she was kind of concerned about me traveling and my safety and if it was legit, which is funny because she had bought from the company, but she was still concerned about that. I'd say the biggest thing that got me past that concern, well, two things. One is I was lucky that the girl that told me about it was somebody I was dating, so it's like the trust was definitely there already. I definitely trusted her, and I figured if she could do it, then I could do it. But I'd say the biggest thing that got me past my concern was I don't know how to say this, like my desire for adventure. The unknown kind of excited me at the same time as it scared me. And I knew that if I wanted to be successful in business someday, and if I wanted to just be successful in life, I was going to have to take risks, that playing it safe wasn't going to get me where I wanted. So I figured even though I had a lot to lose, taking the risk right then was the best time to do it, because I didn't have a family to watch after. I didn't have a house to pay off. I had a lot of student loan debt, but that was still deferred. Like, the worst case scenario was I would have to take a semester off of school and work that semester and just go back the semester after, which would have sucked, but that's not a horrible worst case scenario to take a risk like that. So I think just weighing the pros and cons and the cost benefit analysis, I realized that the stuff that I could potentially gain compared to the risk, even though the risk was scary, if I worked hard, it seemed like I could potentially gain more. So I was willing to take that leap of faith. But going into my first summer, I had no idea what to expect. I knew it was going to be hard, and like I knew it would be emotionally and physically challenging, but like I was not prepared for what it would actually feel like. It was the hardest thing I had ever done up until that point in my life. I was used to being very successful at most things I tried. I was the valedictorian of my high school class of like 600. I was captain of my swim team, my track team, my cross country team. I was in all these different clubs. I was used to being very successful at everything I did. And this job kicked my ass. It was ridiculous how much more challenging it was than I expected. Through that challenge, though, I obviously learned a lot, but that idea that you have to fail at this job was hard to stomach at first. That's probably why it was so challenging. It's just like with this job, failure is not even like a risk. It's necessary. Like you're going to fail if you do it. It's a part of the process. I mean, the best salespeople in the company fail 80% of the time still, or 60% of the time. And, the top salesperson in the company fails at least still 60% of the time. So the idea that you're going to fail more than you succeed was very, very hard for me to stomach at first, and I wasn't used to it, and it was very painful, and it hurt my ego a lot. So getting over that hump of fear of failure was very challenging for me. But like I said, that ended up leading into some of the best lessons that I learned over the summer, because my first summer taught me that I could pretty much do anything I ever wanted to. Because when I really thought about it, it raised my self-confidence so much. And I used to think that self-confidence came from being good at stuff. Like, I was a good athlete, I was good at school, so I was confident. But in reality, that's like conditional confidence. I was confident in those areas. But if you put me in an area that I wasn't super good at, my confidence went down. And I realized that self-confidence stems from like the relationship you have with failure. The reason people aren't confident in certain areas is they're afraid of failure. It's like directly correlated with fear of failure. So when I learned to get over the fear of failure and like look at failure as part of the process and as a learning tool and a stepping stone instead of this horrible monster that I used to look at it as, then when my relationship with failure changed, my self-confidence grew a ton, because I stopped being so afraid of failure, and I realized that failure was just a way to learn and another step towards success. And my self-confidence grew so immensely from that relationship shift with failure, and I truly believed after my first summer that anything I ever wanted to do, I could do it, because even if I fell down, I'd just get back up again. Like, I totally changed my relationship with failure. Now, of course, it's a journey. Like, it's not like it just changed me overnight, but it showed me what was possible, and I've been working on it ever since, and the life that I've created since then has been incredible. So I'd say that was probably the biggest thing I gained, at least from my first summer. So, it's tough. It's probably the hardest thing that you could choose to do over the summer, but if you're willing to work hard enough and take those risks and the leap of faith and go on an adventure, then it's also the most rewarding thing you can do. And I think it's because it's so hard that it's the most rewarding. Everything, the universe is balanced. Everything's in equilibrium. Yin yang, whatever you want to call it. The harder something is, the more there is to gain from it, and the more rewarding it is. Think about the last time you ever did something super easy. Like, did you learn anything? Did you grow as a person? Now think about the last time, the hardest thing you've ever done in your life. Think about how transformational that was. So it's the same thing with this. So don't do it if you're just doing it because it seems like a good resume builder. It is a good resume builder, but it's only a good resume builder. It's only a good money maker. It's only gonna give you those benefits if you're willing to put in the work to make it happen. So that's my biggest piece of advice, is just really consider that if you're going to do this, you need to do it, and make that commitment and leave no other option, and just leave it all out there, because if you do, it can be the most incredible experience ever. Not only did I pay off all my student loan debt just a couple years after graduating, so I'm now completely debt-free after being almost $100,000 in total personal debt, but it also just changed myself. It helped me change myself, and I'm more confident, I'm more self-aware. The list goes on and on of just the things that it helped me grow into. So it's been the most incredible experience, but once again, it comes with the price tag. So if you're willing to pay the price and make the commitment and be determined to push through those fear of failure moments and the pain and suffering that comes along with sucking at something at first and having to learn a new skill, then I'd say go for it.